that's kind of the genesis behind it. Now, for this particular project, Dr. Steve Norris, who I met in 1994 at the National Coach Institute, he and I have been friends since then. He was on vacation in Cyprus in late September this past year when he got the call from Harold Springfield. And Harold, I just want to make sure I get his position right. Harold is the sport development manager for Asia, and he had met Steve through these summer camps in Viramaki, because Steve did several of them over the number of years on the kind of the strategic planning side, and that's who got me into strategic planning. And Harry's a big believer, Steve, and he told Steve of the IHF's vision for this pilot project, and Steve jumped on board right away. And when he returned back to Calgary in early October, he recruited me to come on board to help provide support to him in the project. And then we went and talked to Paul Carson, who had retired from Hockey Canada in 2020. So the three of us put our heads together, and we ended up trying to put some reality to Harry's vision, put some practicality and applicability to it. And we're still in the midst of that. So this is a pilot project, and this one is working with the Asian and the Middle East MNAs. So that's an abbreviation for Member National Association. So the general secretaries, or the GSs, are typically the leaders of the MNAs. And so what we're doing is moving the IHF's concept to a reality. And we're hoping we've provided enough momentum now that it's going pretty good. And essentially, what I make it a quick note here. So what we were tasked with was to create, then execute and refine a 2-year pilot project, and it's all about supporting the general secretaries of Asia and the Middle Eastern members, the MNAs, and we're building out a curriculum which is kind of 2 main themes. One's an administrative side, one's more of a hockey-specific side. And we're putting together a series of applied workshops that address both those sides. And we've got like a multitude of tasks under each one of those 2 domains. And we started working with some of the stuff the IIHF has already done for all the MNAs. Each MNA fills out a bunch of surveys, and what they're looking for is compliance with minimum participation standards that have been set by the IHF for these developing nations to start to become accepted as I think their word is associate member, and then to a full member. When you're a full member, you have a voting privilege now, and you also, I think, get access to some more funding and resources. So that's why these developing countries want to try to hit these metrics and achieve MPS status so they can become elevated to a full member. So really, my origin is through my own work, doing what I've been doing in the game and coach developing, and then knowing Steve Norris, and then being involved with Paul Carson when I worked at Hockey Canada eons ago. I think I've known Paul a few more years than I know Steve. So that's what we do now, and the MNAs provide these answers to these surveys, and so that gave us a baseline to see where everybody stood. And we had an online call with all the people that wanted to join. And we had our first meeting in Almaty, Kazakhstan in November of 2024. And we were there. We delivered a week full of, basically, we tried to build connection with each one, listen and understand what their each particular situation is, There's a lot of kind of cultural differences with the MNAs, but there's an awful lot of similarities too when you look at the big picture. And we really wanted to use that to lay the groundwork, to show them what direction we want to take this, how we're there to support them. And it started, like you said, Wally, you've got to build that connection first, and then move it and drive it forward. And the old saying, you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. So each MNA individual comes with their own preconceived notions and motivations, and some put more into it than others. But by and large, we feel it was very successful. And one of the Luke Tardif was there, I think, in Almaty, and Marty Nurmanen. He's kind of the director general. Matty Newman. He's the director general. He sat in on almost the entire first week, and he even presented, as did one of the legal counsel from the IHF, Adrian, and I'll probably butcher his name, Adrian Wickmans. I think he's from the Netherlands, or Dutch, but he's one of their legal counsel. So, like I say, we tried to address a lot of the administrative modules. I think we've got 12 of them, talking about some of those ones are, organizational governance structure, strategic planning and development, safety, risk management, human relationships, personal skills, sponsorship, marketing, financial management, stakeholder community involvement and engagement, legal and ethical responsibility. So, kind of the stuff that goes into the more of the governance and leadership type structure. And we focused on that again this past week in Abu Dhabi. And most of the people that signed up, the countries in the first one, were at the second one. I think there was a difference. We had 15 nations, I think, in both of our meetings, Wally, and they were both the same with the exception of 4 countries. So 4 weren't there and 4 new ones came in. Most of the people were the same across countries, although there's a few changes. Just people's roles change, whatever. And again, those topic areas on the administration side were what we focused on this one as well. And we had John Veraguth, who is the finance director for the IHF. He beamed in to provide his expertise for an afternoon on some of the financial things. So that's kind of the a little bit of the guts and how I got involved with it. And, I see my role as, I try to help, I play off of what Steve does, because Steve and I were on site. Paul was beaming in, and delivering via Zoom, because he's retired, he's living the life and enjoying, his retirement in various countries as he goes around the world with his wife Jan, and so Paul comes in because he's got a particular set of strengths as well, on the administrative side and certainly on the ice hockey specific side. So my main priority is just to really help support and oversee, these 2 guys, all the content. When I can, I just kind of jump in and help. And the big thing that I like to do, because of the sociologist in me, is to really get to know each individual and do my best to try to gain a more complete understanding of their situation, so that I can help, mentor and facilitate them as they work their way through the process. And ultimately, we're tasking them with identifying strengths and weaknesses from these surveys, and finding the path forward. So we're helping them create a plan. And Paul brought in some important quality indicators, how we judge the work that we're doing, where we are now, where are we going to go, how do we know if we're doing a good job, the dream with a deadline, the SMART goals. We're using different leadership models to get it onto paper or get it onto a digital form, and we've created kind of those documents and encourage them to start to fill in all these tick boxes so that they're working with an evolving document that's going to be their guide, and it doesn't have a start and an end. It has a start, but it's not just a 1 year. We try to project it out over 3 or 4 years based on the Olympic cycles and whatever other internal constraints that those organizations may have. And then as you progress down the time frame, you're adding time out, right? Because you want to always have that vision into the future. So we're working them toward a Gantt chart, which basically is just a timeline chart with a bunch of the organizational responsibilities. And in the third face-to-face meeting, we've got a debrief on the second one, but I'm anticipating we're going to start to work in more ice hockey specific content, the athletes development, sports science, medical programs, seasonal and practice planning, high performance coaching, national team stuff, coach development frameworks, club management, officiating, interacting with the various IHF programs, structure and resources like their Learn to Play program, officiating program, goaltending program. There's an awful lot of support programs the IHF puts on, and it's already ready to go, and they just get rolled out through these MNAs. So, esports is another topic that, it's now gaining prevalence. So it's an area that the IHF is involved with. Sport technology, artificial intelligence, the actual ice hockey equipment, transferring knowledge from an ice hockey database. So if somebody leaves your organization, you've got records of that and you can just seamlessly roll through. So, it's kind of a dry background, but it's an incredibly important, two areas of administration and ice hockey specific domains coming together. And we're just helping these people understand the depth and breadth of these topics and getting them, facilitating them to get them down digitally, and then really going back and driving the leadership behind each individual nation. And ultimately, it aligns really well with the ice hockey, international ice hockey vision, mission, and strategic plan. So, like I say, Wally, I'm learning a lot as I go, and I'm really blessed to be able to have this opportunity. I've worked with Harry in the past when I was working in South Korea, preparing him for the 2018 Olympics that they hosted, and boy, it's just a great experience for me as well. It's not just I love doing that kind of having that kind of involvement in strategic planning and mentorship and facilitation, but it's a learning journey for me as well, and then to meet all these interesting people and to learn about their cultures. I mean, it's like hitting a home run, with my interests in sociology and just in building capacity in people, and working under that banner of helping the IHF grow the game and expand the global footprint of hockey. Boy, what a ride.